Okay, amazing. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive in. I'm Taylor Harrington. If we have not met, I'm your head of community, and I am really glad that you're here today for this session that is all about slowing down just enough to see your business more clearly. So we are joined by the amazing Chedva Ludmir, also known as Vivi, who is a strategist, a serial entrepreneur, and also the founder of Consider Labs. So Vivi has spent her career helping founders and leaders navigate moments of uncertainty with clarity, intention, and depth. Her work lives at the intersection of strategy and empathy, where positioning isn't just about what you sell, but also how your audience feels when they encounter your work. So, what I really appreciate about Vivi's approach is that she doesn't ask you to shout louder or compete harder, but instead she helps you understand the emotional gap your audience is experiencing and how to meet them there with precision and presence and care. So, through the frameworks like the narrative market mapping, she gives founders a way to stop guessing and start communicating in a way that actually resonates. So, today's session will be very hands on and practical. You'll explore how to identify different emotional undercurrents of your market, refine your messaging, and shape offers that land. So, not just intellectually, but emotionally. So, this is especially powerful if you've ever felt like your offer is strong, but something is a little off in how it's landing. So, Vivi, we are so excited to have you here. Thank you so much for sharing with the Dreamers and Doers community in this way. Let's go ahead and get into it.
So excited to be here. Let me just quickly share my screen.
Amazing. And we have a couple new friends coming into the chat. So, hey, crew, good to have you here. We have Lisa in the house now and Kat, welcome in. We're just getting started.
Awesome. Taylor, can you see my
I can. It looks perfect. Beautiful.
awesome. I'm so excited to be here, and it's so fun to see this great group coming together. And I loved like the TV book playlist conversation. I want to dig in. By the way, I think Bridgerton is back today as well.
There's a pro tip right there.
Yeah. So this talk is for you if you've ever poured your heart into an offer, a product. It could be an app, a course, a service, and something just fell flat. And it just felt like it shouldn't have because you did it all right. You did the market research, you did the interviews, you had your entire strategy laid out, but something was just not it. So it wasn't because the price was wrong. It wasn't because you didn't put the work in. It just didn't land, and that's something might be emotional. And I feel like I hear a lot from clients how I'm not acting out of an emotion. I'm acting out of research and strategy, and we often like really kind of think about emotion as something we should stray away from. But in marketing and honestly in entrepreneurship in general, we need to remember that we're actually talking to people. So this is what it's all about. So while I do kind of a quick recap of what brought me here, I would love it if you can share in the chat who you are, what you do, and maybe like which like vertical or industry you're in, just so I can make sure that examples resonate and maybe are relevant for you. Is that okay? So, as Taylor said, I'm Vivi. This is my son, Hanol. He's 19. Uh, I'll be 40 on Monday. So, that's a big milestone coming up. And this is my rescue dog, Giovanni, who runs the house, the business, and everything else. And I started my career in lifestyle, actually in publishing, then lifestyle, and then enterprise SaaS. And I think people feel like those things are very, very different from each other. Thank you on the early birthday wishes. I feel like people think like those things are very, very different from each other. But actually, as someone who kind of fluctuated between all of those things and now is going back to working not only with tech, but also creatives and solopreneurs, it just really cemented for me how everything is the same, right? You can work in different verticals, in different industries, but at the end of the day, we all have a nervous system, we all have emotions, we all have, just our brains and our hearts and everything that makes us function. And so I think we should really, really not ignore those things that makes us human. So Oh, thank you so much, everyone, for participating. So Ariana says she's from coaching, training, and facilitation. And Kat is in fitness and wellness. And we have, oh, pet tech for rescue pups. That's amazing. We should talk. And then Nicole is a medical aesthetic. I love the diversity we have here in terms of verticals. So Ulrika is also in coaching. Oh, Ulrika, I recognize you from LinkedIn. PR, amazing. Board game store. That's super, super cool. Okay. That's really awesome. I'm not sure I have examples for all of you, but would be really, really interesting to see what comes up for everyone as we start talking. So this is going to be a very hands-on, practical hour for us. We'll break often for prompts for you guys to kind of look at the question and think how this relates to your business or to your launch or to your offer. So I'm really, really excited to hear how this translates into all those very different businesses. So let's start. So many brilliant offers fall flat, not because of pricing or product quality, but because they don't land emotionally. And this is exactly what we're going to work on. And in the next hour, we're going to walk through 5 modules. First of all, forget personas and, speaking about people as users, as personas, let's talk about personalities and actual humans. We're going to talk about making a huge, messy list of everything that is not necessarily a competitor, but competes for your potential clients' brain capacity, basically. We're going to talk about decoding vibes because vibes are not fluff. Let me tell you that. Spotting emotional gaps and finding your consider moments. And feel free to drop any questions you have or anything you want to contribute in the chat. I don't promise to look at it all the time, but Taylor is here to help me. And we'll definitely break every once in a while to see what people have to say or to ask. So, first off, let's talk about mapping your market beyond the comparison table. So this might be very, very familiar to you, depending on the industry or the vertical you're coming from, really doing your market research and creating this table, doing your research, looking into competitors, looking into different players in the industry, looking into the features that their product has, and really like laying it all out, super neat, super clean to compare what your product has to offer that there does not. Your product or your service or your program, right? It really depends on what you're working on. And I love how no matter what you're working on, right? No matter what we're working on, our product checks all all the benefits, all the features somehow above our competitors. And this is important, right? I don't want to rain on doing your research. It's really, really, really important. And it's important to go through the steps of traditional market research and market mapping. But I think one surprising client that actually kind of really gave me like a pause and reminded me how beyond these comparison tables and feature lists, there is so much more, came to me actually in a very vulnerable moment in 2020 between lockdowns. So let me take you back. The year is 2020. I was coming to the understanding that I needed to shut down my tech startup. It was a mentoring platform, was an enterprise SaaS mentoring platform. Basically, we were helping large organizations democratize who's giving the mentoring inside their organization and also who's getting it. It was a crazy roller coaster learning curve of 5 years. And then COVID came just as we were about to close our investment round of $3.5 million in March 18, 2020. And it was a very rude awakening. now looking back, I am actually grateful for it, like not for the pain, but for having that kind of harsh reality make me close my startup, because in hindsight, I was extremely burnt out. But in the moment, I needed to like scramble back to my feet, understand what I'm doing next. And I found myself within 2 months starting a new business, and that was a marketing and strategy agency. And in that moment in time, I couldn't, I was like taking on any client. And that actually brought some really, really cool and interesting clients to my doorstep, because I was like, okay, whatever, like my skills are my skills. Let's just do what I do, no matter which industry or vertical. So one of those clients was a CBD gummy company, and I knew nothing about it. I admit to being a goody two shoes. I don't drink. I drink a little now. I didn't drink at the time. I didn't smoke. I didn't do anything. I had no idea. And all I knew was that this was a CBD company that was around for a while. And they wanted to start approaching women during or after menopause. And they had a problem. Anyone want to guess what the problem was?
They didn't know how to talk to women in menopause.
That is true, Ariana. But not only that, it's not even that they didn't know how to talk to them. It was, I think if women in menopause would come to their website, they wouldn't even stay long enough to hear what they had to say, or to hear that they didn't know how to talk to them. It was giving teenager 20 something guy, right? And it just would creep out anyone in that category. So I think that was the moment where I understood um, beyond market research, beyond even messaging. um, I really needed to decode the vibe and understand what makes people tick, what makes people feel trust, what makes people feel welcome, what makes people run for their lives, basically. And one of like the key things that I brought to them was your target audience, right? This woman will never step into um, a website where it's all like neon and black, or a dispensary that looks a certain way. So we need to understand what does make her feel welcome, what does make her feel trust. Because it's not just about not going to your competitor. It's about not saying, okay, I'm just going to take an Advil, or I'm just going to deal with it on my own. So this is basically why we're breaking away from the comparison table, even though have it, right? It's important to have that as well. And we're going deeper and wider into the nervous system of our target audience. Okay. Um, so basically, I think one of our biggest issues as experts, right? An expert can be a consultant, can be a founder, right? Can be someone who is living and breathing their subject matter expertise, is that we think in very concrete ways. We can think, oh, our tech is more cutting edge than the competitor's tech, or the socks that we manufacture are just higher quality and they won't make you itch, right? Or we can think this product of our competitors is missing 3 core features. So we can be very like matter of fact about it and say like, of course our product is better, and let me tell you why and how. While for the layperson who is usually our client or a potential client, it's not about that, right? It's about how it makes them feel. And how it makes them feel could be, it really got me, I feel seen. Or it could be like, this reminds me of something I don't like, right? Or it could be, this is just too overwhelming. This is just too busy, or the words are too big and I don't like, I'm not comfortable. I don't even want to stick around and find out what it is. So before we even dive deeper in, I would want to urge you to put down your expert goggles and put on your just a person goggles, right? Just, try to walk a mile in their shoes. Let me see if I forgot anything. So if anyone wants, while we're going to the next slide, you can say, like, what is something that is like you would say as an expert, and we can try and help you think about like how. And I think it actually pays that we're from such different industries, because we can help you kind of say, like, as someone who's not an expert at all in your industry, what does that make me feel, or what does that sound to me? So again, I think traditional market research is super, super important. Definitely do your market research. Definitely come up with personas and understand demographics. And we will talk about it in a bit. But real people, we have to remember, don't fit into templates. And they do leave clues about what they care about, what they think, what they feel. And we can look for that. We can look for the actual personalities behind the personas. So this is like just a kind of a quick look into some personality researches that I've done in the past. This one was for this CBD brand. This one was for a tech platform for employees inside organizations. This one was for like a home decor brand that is very nostalgic. So we were looking into kind of how people are looking for comfort, for solace in their lives, and how actually Gen Z is like very nostalgic. So we can definitely do a lot of research, and I encourage that. But then once we're done with the research, I would really, really urge you to also sit with the questions. So I'll quickly go through those questions, and then we can take a few minutes, each of us, to kind of think about it through the lens of our own brands, or if you have a specific product or service or program, that would be even better, because the more specific, the better. So first of all, who are they really? So we'll start from things that you would also do in traditional market research, like, just demographics, generations, are they Gen Z? Are they millennial? Are they Gen Alpha? Are they a boomer? Locations, any sense of belonging, of course, gender, anything else, any access points that shape behavior. But then also try to sit with this question, which is just like a very, very human question, beyond all the titles, beyond all the stereotypes, right? Beyond all the research. Who are they really? What do you know about them? What made you create this product or program or service specifically for them? Who do you know? Or if you don't know these people in real life, how can you find someone online that could give you clues about what they care about? Right? So that's, who are they really? The second question is, what are they missing? And again, this is like a very traditional approach of like, what's the problem, right? What's the pain, right? So that it can start from there. Like, what's the pain that they're feeling, or the void that they're trying to fill in the context of your world? So it can start from just the problem that you're solving, right? I saw we have a few coaches here. So it can depend if it's life coaching or business coaching, right? But sometimes, or career coaching, sometimes there are some there's a very clear set of problems or pains that bring people to you, right? But then try to think beyond the very clear, obvious pains and problems that are the trigger for people approaching you, or for your product being a fit for them, and try to think, what else? What are the different things? What are the different pains around this pains? Is it fear? What are they scared of? Okay, it doesn't have to be one answer. It's actually like, I think here, as opposed to like traditional market research, it's actually even better if you don't have one clear answer. If you have kind of a cloud, think about it, a cloud of many different things kind of coming together into a picture, right? Into a picture of this person. Is it fear? If it's fear from what? Is it hope? They're hoping for something. Is it discomfort? What might they be? What might be giving them this discomfort? Okay, so what is that they're missing? Are they even aware? So again, if we go through regular traditional marketing funnels, you have, the stage of problem aware, not problem aware. So that's also relevant here. But if they're not aware of the problem or of the issue or of how you can help them, what are they aware of? Are they aware of, sometimes they can not be aware of the problem, but they can be aware of what the problem is causing in their lives. Okay, so what they can be aware of the symptoms, even if it's not the actual thing. For them, that is the actual thing, right? You're not going to tell them, no, actually, what you're dealing with is not the actual thing. So, are they aware? And if they're not aware, what are they aware of? Sometimes the pain can show up sideways. And then, is this a want or a need? How crucial is this? How critical is this for them? Where does it fall in the urgency thermometer? Okay, especially if your solution, right, your product, your service, your program requires something from them or doesn't sit very, very comfortably emotionally from them, and it's not very urgent, that might cause them to think twice. So we either need to see what is urgent there or to make extra sure that we are really, really talking calmly, like really helping their nervous system as they enter our realm, right? And also, is it tied to a positive desire or to actually wanting to avoid something negative? So let's take a few minutes. Let's take like 3 minutes until the 30 mark, and everyone can start. I know these are like very big and deep and wide questions, but you can start like jotting down something so you can have like the beginnings later. And if anyone wants to, oh, thank you, Taylor. And if anyone wants to ask something or share something that they came up with, I think we can take one or two people right after that. So 3 minutes. And I would say maybe pick one or two questions to focus on for these now 2 minutes, just so it's not too overwhelming. Okay, one more minute. So fascinated about what everybody is doing. Okay. Anyone want to share or ask anything? Okay, we're going to move on. So, this is my favorite thing to say. Somehow, I don't know how, in any talk, on any topic I come up with, there's always a slide saying time to make a huge messy list. I'm just realizing this right now as I'm saying this. So it is, spoiler alert, time to make a huge messy list. And the idea here is basically throw anything that might be competing for your potential client's attention. Okay, and let me be a little bit more specific. It can be, of course, direct competitors who have like either a very similar product or a product that's not necessarily similar, but it's bigger and also does what you do. It's smaller and it does part of what you do. It doesn't do what you do, but it claims to do what you do. We all know them. We hate them. Yeah, sleep for Netflix. Exactly. So that's not the direct competitor. That's the indirect competitor. We're also going to throw there the workarounds. Okay. So the DIY solutions, the good enough hacks, anything, because remember, people are lazy. And I'm saying this as a lazy person myself. Like, we don't want to go out of our ways to solve a problem. We want to deal, like, we want to have coffee, right? We want to have chocolate. We want to do what we want to do. We want to do our favorite things to do. We want to work on our core stuff that brings us joy. We don't want to now deal with things. So if we can have a workaround and just put a band-aid on it, we will. So those band-aids are also going on your huge messy list because they're also competing for this potential client who's not going to come to you. They're going to come to the band-aid if they're able to. And then the emotional blockers, right? The fear, the shame, the overwhelm, the I'll do it later. The that woman that we talked about before who wouldn't get caught in a dispensary if her life depended on it, or or a sex toy store or whatever, right? That is an emotional blocker. The shiny object syndrome. Again, as someone who's like loud and proud ADHD, I only got diagnosed a year or 2 years ago, but it was no surprise to anyone. Things that are marketed as solving their problems, even if they don't, things that just like, if we really got to know the personality, not the persona of our potential client, we might have an idea of what else might be distracting them from actually solving the problem. Similar messaging, so things that have similar promises, even if they're not doing the same thing. And of course, life stuff, fires to put out. And Dorothy, definitely also indirect competitors. Anything, really anything that can be competing for their attention. So let's take 1 minute, like a quick minute, to like really jot down like the 3 to 5 first things that jump into your minds when you're thinking what else can be competing for the attention of this personality, not persona, that I'm aiming to work with. So I can give you some inspiration while you're thinking. So for that CBD client, the messy list included direct CBD brands, Amazon, taking Advil instead, feeling too embarrassed to go to a dispensary, that new meditation app that everybody's talking about, and honestly, just being too tired to deal with it. So all of this would be competing for her attention. Dorothy is saying status quo coziness. Well, can you elaborate? I'm really interested. What's status quo coziness?
Sorry, I got way too excited. I think it's not typical, but for us, we're this comes at a perfect time because we're right ahead of asking these questions in our company since we're making a big shift. And I feel like the biggest one will be for us, the biggest competitor will be the laziness to change. It's not perfect, but it works right now. So we probably don't want to do something that will be amazing, but eventually, and not right now. So like you just called it the status quo coziness. Like it's not perfect, but it's cozy. It's familiar. So
What's like an example of that?
we use a software that does a okay-ish job.
Yeah.
We have this incredible AI tool that would change our lives. Yeah, but
Then it would
pen and
require
paper is
onboarding.
real like the devil type of relationships with solutions that you are not familiar. What the solutions that you already know versus the promise of something incredible that you don't know and you have to work towards it. So that's going to be our biggest competitor for sure.
Yeah, I love that. That is so true, especially if that new amazing thing is making you, or you fear that it's going to make you face like some things that you're scared of, some things that you feel like you have imposter syndrome about, right? You're already like, you can see in your mind how you F it up or how like you'll need to call someone to fix it. Then that's going to put another hurdle, right? Another barrier on top of it. So yeah, that's an amazing example. Um, awesome. Okay, so now we're gonna take, oh, that here's that slide. Sorry, I always forget what comes after what. Um, now we're gonna take, so now that you have this, we're gonna take a few things from this messy list, okay? Like let's say 3 things from that messy list that you made, and we're gonna decode their vibe. Okay, this is how we're gonna do it. Oh, here's that slide as well. So for yeah, so we have like uh, um I'll give you the example. We have like a competitor that was like the Amazon for CBD. So that was like the go-to, right? Very clear, very no frills. We had like the very cliche young and hipstery thing. We had the clean cut. And then we had the one that was kind of closest, was like a very glossier or things vibe brand that was the most like let's say feminine and stylish, but also it wasn't that relevant age-wise. Okay, so let's decode the vibe. Let's take 3 of these names, right? Or those things, because it could be like a brand name and it could be a workaround, or it could be like this status quo coziness, as Dorothy said. So let's take the brand name or like just the name of the thing, and let's try to decode it. Decoding it means looking at the visual vibe and the verbal tone, right? Just like I said in this slide. Is it the Amazon of the category? Is it the Glossier of the category? Is it something else? It's the Barnes and Noble of the category? Is it the Bodega, right? The category. So try to think about the visual vibe, just the vibes that you get from this brand or from this thing visually, and the verbal tone of their messaging. Is it cozy? Is it just familiar? Is it giving trustworthy? So decode that. Then we can understand the emotional impact of it. What does it make your customer feel like? And what role does it serve? Right? What job is it doing? If you're familiar with the jobs to be done framework, is it doing like the band-aid job, right? Just being there and being easy and helpful and accessible, even if it doesn't solve their entire problem? Is it making them feel responsible? Like, is it a big brand name or something that they say, okay, I don't know if it's going to blow my mind. I don't know if it's going to do an amazing job, but I can trust it because it comes from this and this brand and they're not going to lead me astray, right? So what is the job that it does for them? What's the function that it that it serves from them. And then bonus point, if you also go, just like we said before, to an analogy, right? They are the Duolingo for whatever. It's not, it's not a coincidence that any second ad you get on TikTok or on Instagram is we're the Duolingo for history. We're the Duolingo, we're the Airbnb for whatever. It's really bad copywriting. It's bad marketing, but it works because it does have a role emotionally. So let's take a few seconds, try to think about 1 to 3 things from your messy list and decode them verbally and visually, emotionally, and then what job do they serve? And then if anyone wants to jump in with a question here or an example, I think we can take one person. Okay, Ariana, so what does your list include if it doesn't include a competitor?
It includes stuff like their inbox is overwhelmingly full, and there's always more coming in than they can get to. That they have crises and urgent fires to deal with at work. That their work tasks are really demanding of their time and attention, and like they don't. It's like they're never getting ahead.
So overwhelmed mostly?
Yeah, it's like a lot of overwhelm, just like kind of overworked, under resourced,
Yeah.
and not always able to see that like slowing down, pausing, stepping back, or investing in themselves or support for their team could make a positive difference.
That's interesting. So maybe with them, they're also not problem aware, right?
That
And
might be true, yeah.
or not problem aware to the extent of being a feeling that it's actionable, right? A feeling that it's urgent.
Right.
And then
Go ahead.
what I would ask there would be, what are the other symptoms? Okay, how does this problem they're not aware of manifest in their lives or in their work? And what might be a symptom that they are aware of? And how are they treating that symptom? Because they probably are treating part of it at least.
Okay.
And that might be another list. Okay. So yes. So now we get to spotting the emotional gap. Okay. So now that we've decoded the vibes and we looked at what's missing, we can ask ourselves a few more questions. And I don't know if Taylor or I mentioned it. You might have gathered so far that I love questions. uh, actually consider as my methodology of question-led leadership and transformation. I don't know if I said that. So sorry, not sorry for all the questions. It is by design. And I will also share in the end, I have like a market mapping template with a custom GPT. So definitely, of course, you can take screenshots, but you will also get this deck and you will get the template. So you will be able to also do the work on your own time and get some help from the GPT as well. Okay, so here are some questions. Let's sit with them. Looking at this list, okay, or at the list, again, we can look at the list of direct competitors, of workarounds, of shiny objects, anything really. Let's sit and ask ourselves, who on this list is making our people feel smart, right? Who's making them feel seen? Who's making them feel overwhelmed? Ariana, I feel like you haven't answered this. Who's making them feel comfortable? Okay, we can go on and on. These are just a few suggestions. And how does your brand fit in to this? What would also urge you to then do is like kind of take all these like loose ends and ask yourself two more questions. One is, what emotional space isn't being claimed, right? And what emotional space is like really, really, really crowded there? Okay. And then bonus is, what emotion is tied to your space's problem or pain? And is your vibe echoing that emotion? Okay. Because sometimes, I really believe, and this is something that we do in marketing, that it's important to talk about the pain, because a lot of times people will relate to the pain more than they relate to the outcome. But we need to make sure that overall our vibe, our messaging, everything doesn't make them feel even more of the pain, right? We can talk about the pain, we can mention it, we can address it. I love being direct, but let's make sure that they don't then connote your brand, your product, your service, your program as equal pain, because we want to be the ones they think about when they think about their nervous system actually being calmer, right? Them being more comfortable. So what emotion is tied to the problem or pain that might bring them to you? And is your vibe in the same realm? But not just in terms of wording, but emotionally. Look at both wording, design, and overall effect. What is your brand doing to your potential customers' nervous system? Just like I said in the beginning, I think it was to Ariana, but I might be mistaken. They might not even stick around to like listen to your podcast, read your copy, whatever, if immediately like they just get some contact with whatever it is that they see of yours and they get stressed. So what is like the immediate vibe? So let's take a minute. First of all, asking this about the kind of ecosystem, right? The huge messy list. Who on the list is making them feel this way? And then we can ask the same questions about your brand. Okay. So now we're going to take a minute, not a real minute, but once you do this, and you can do this with yourself later when you have the time, and ask yourself what's missing emotionally in your market, and what feeling is no one serving, or what feeling is being overserved, and what does it tell you about the person who is there? Okay, and this is what I call the consider moment. We are going to look at everything we've done so far and see what does your audience need, right? Not only the actual need. They need coaching. They need to find the zone of genius. They need to have sustainable clothing, right? I'm just making this up. So this is what we know. We, the experts with our expert goggles, know that they need. But what do they feel like they need? What is their nervous system telling them? Okay, that is what your audience needs. What is the market not offering emotionally? So of course you can also talk about what the market is not offering just tangibly, but that you probably already have in your comparison tables. But what is not being offered emotionally? What is missing? And then what feels aligned for you? What do you feel like you can deliver, not only in terms of features, services, but also emotionally? And maybe that aligns with why you even started doing what you do. A lot of times it does. So it's not about being louder once you figure those things out. It's not about being louder. It's about being a good fit. It's just about making people feel better. Okay. Okay. So once you do that, you will feel like you don't have to shout into the void, because it's just about finding the best fit. And like in any, marketing framework, you don't have to serve everyone. But once you understand what your people are missing, that makes it so much more intuitive and easy. I was just having a really interesting conversation with my mom a few days ago about like, do things need to be like about effort? And I was arguing that the best things in life and in business come easily. So, but it took me 6 years in somatic coaching. Okay, so now getting to make it real, let's test your positioning, right? Your emotional positioning before you take it into the real world. So first of all, run your messaging by past clients or by people that you know, or people on Dreamers and Doers, for example, who might be a good fit or in the category of your personalities. And don't ask them if they would buy it or not buy it. Ask them if it resonates with how they feel or how they felt before they found you, or how they felt when they looked for a solution like this, or how they felt when they were dealing with that issue. And I would go even further and not test it on like a piece of messaging or copywriting that talks about what you do, but a piece of messaging or a headline or a tagline that uses this language to talk about them. The same thing, you can A/B test it with a meta ad or on stories and see how it performs. You can also share it with your audience and listen. And you don't want something that's very clear cut. So again, like as opposed to many marketing frameworks, you actually are not looking for clarity here in a way. You're looking for feelings, you're looking for emotions, you're looking for something that is a little bit gritty, a little bit unclear, right? So that's exactly how I feel. Or yes, this is this kind of, I don't know if I would use this word, but it really reminds me of how I felt when, things like that. Or actually, this is not at all how I felt. This is also like a very helpful feedback. Okay. And actually, like this makes me like feel even worse. That's also okay, because it's all helpful information. And notice what questions people ask, because the more confused questions they have, it means like your positioning is unclear, but it also means that you have something to work with. So again, any feedback is information, and you want to hear their feelings, their thoughts, their questions, and go back to the drawing board. And you can also show them things from your huge messy list and ask them how that makes them feel. Okay, that's also something that could be really helpful. So now that you have this foundation, you can revisit your messaging. I would also urge you, I'm very much a messaging person. I'm a big believer in tone of voice, and I am a very visual person, but I'm a consumer of visuals. I'm not a designer, but I would also definitely urge you to look at your visuals, at your branding from the same lens. Reconsider where you show up. What platforms are the right platforms for you? And maybe your audience is on both TikTok, on LinkedIn, and Instagram, and Facebook, and whatever. But where are they showing up with the capacity to actually hear you? Remember, we had the huge messy list. So we're also thinking about not only where they are, but also which mindset they are in when they come to different places. Like I really saw very, very different performance with clients who were on Instagram, Pinterest, LinkedIn, and their audiences were everywhere, but they came with different intents and different mindsets and different times of the day and different emotional capacities to those different platforms. So revisit where you are, and maybe you will decide to stay on all these platforms, or maybe add even more platforms, but you will decide to get there at a different time of the day, or get there with a slightly different messaging. So definitely like be open to reconsidering that and think about your roadmap. Now that you have this deeper information, what might you change not only in terms of messaging or platforms, but maybe the order by which you do things, or maybe how you talk about the problem. Maybe you don't have to talk about the problem, but about the symptoms, for example. Okay. And that is all. I'll send you the market mapping template and the GPT. And I would love to take a few questions if anyone has them. Oh,
Amazing. Well, before we pop into questions, let's just get like a round of confetti and love in the chat. Thank you so much, Chedva. This was amazing. I wrote down a few different things myself throughout, but I loved how you kept coming back to some of those phrases of like the consider moment and the expert goggles. Like I feel like those phrases are definitely going to stick with me beyond this. So if anything stuck with you, feel free to get specific in the chat. I am going to drop a couple of links in the chat so that you can stay in touch with Chedva. And then also if you want to share any feedback from today on one of our forums, then that can help us kind of tailor our events for the rest of 2026. And if you're like, I want to do exactly what Chedva just did, I want to do my own version of that, I will send the form for that as well. But yeah, let's hear if there are any questions. Anyone got anything on their mind based on what was shared?
thank you. And I'm just sticking the link to the market mapping dashboard in the chat.
Yeah, this was awesome. Thanks for so generously sharing.
Of course.
Ariana said, I'm curious, where do you get clues about what your audience feels?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I think, first of all, I do start with traditional, very old school research. I feel like that really grounds me. It also gives me a lot of, speaking of my own nervous system, that gives me confidence and I can feel like better in it. Once I have that, I just, as I said, I'm a fan of questions and I just get like really, really curious and I start thinking and also researching. And now it's much easier with AI of where does this audience hang out? I try to get on their side of TikTok. I try to get them their side of Instagram, on LinkedIn, and really hear what they're sharing. And a lot of times it requires getting out of the box, because if we're going to look for, what they're sharing about the problem, as I said, they might not be aware of the problem, or they might be aware of it, but that's not what's on their top of their minds. So I will try to research in a very like holistic way. Remember, they're full people, their personalities, their whole life is not just about the problem. So really think about like walking a mile in their shoes. What TV show are they watching? Which groups are they in? And really try to understand who they are. Again, today with AI, it's so much easier. See if there are groups on subreddits on Reddit where people hang out. Who are they following? Who's their favorite author? What books are they reading? Maybe, their way to tackle this problem is to read a book or watch a TED Talk. Let's watch that TED Talk. Okay, all of these things can really give us a lot of clues.
That was great. And we do have a really great session inside of the community on Reddit. So if you're looking to do some Reddit listening, I'll pop that in the chat in case that's of interest as well.
I actually really want to.
So you want that. Great. I will hand that on over to you. We have time for one more question if someone has something they want to share.
Yeah, I do love Notion. I have to say, as an ADHD girly, I used to be super, super overwhelmed by Notion, but sometime over the past year or two, I just fell in love with it.
I used to work on a team that used Notion for everything, and now the Dreamers and Doers team uses Google Docs. It's tough. My love language is definitely Notion. But wow, this was great. I think we'll wrap up there since we don't have any immediate questions popping on up. But thank you everyone for tuning in. I hope that, yeah, your wheels continue to spin after this. Thanks for being so engaging inside of the chat and asking good questions. And if anything comes up after this, you have ways to reach out to Chedva now in the chat. And she's a total OG. So if you're new to Dreamers and Doers and you're like, you've been here for years, what has this been like? She's also someone that has been here over the years and seen it
Definitely
evolve.
reach out. I would
Yeah.
love to talk to anyone and everyone. I'm definitely here. And even if you have questions about the template or the GPT or anything else
So
that's
cool.
popped up, I would love to be in touch. Thank you so much for having me.
Amazing. All right. Thanks, crew. Have a great rest of your Thursday. Stay warm. Enjoy some sunshine wherever you're at, I hope. And I will see you at our next event. Bye, crew.
Bye. Thank you.